多謝大家經過一個早上嘅敬拜聚會。
Thank you, everyone, after going through a whole morning of service.
今日晏晝仲要嚟聽我噏下呢個噏下嗰樣。
Still coming to this workshop and listening to me this afternoon.
咁當然呢個係一個好重要一個題目。
This is a really important topic.
所以多謝大家俾我有呢個機會嚟帶今日呢個咁重要嘅一個題目。
So I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to come and speak on this topic.
為人父母嘅挑戰。
The challenges of being a parent.
擔心孩子嘅成長。
Worrying about the growth of children.
同埋單親方面嘅家庭。
And also special challenges of single-parent families.
當然我講嘅內容都係會有一啲嘅好多嘅聖經嘅內容。
Of course, in my sharing, I will be sharing from the Bible.
亦都有一啲嘅輔導學。
I will also be sharing some counseling or psychology.
心理學同埋一啲個人嘅經驗。
So some psychology and also some of my own personal experiences.
咁大概係1個鐘頭15分鐘左右。
The length will be about an hour and 15 minutes.
咁跟住我哋就會有一啲問題解答。
And then we'll have some Q&A.
如果冇問題解答咧，我哋就早啲走。
If there's no questions, then we can all leave early.
如果係有咧，我哋就到4點。
And if there are questions, we will wrap up things at 4 o'clock. 我
哋先嚟睇第一個 slide 就係創世記第1章27至到28節。
First, we will look at Genesis chapter 1, verses 27 to 28.
創世記1章第27節到28節。好，我哋一齊嚟讀一次啊！用中文嘅、國語、廣東話都 OK 嚇。
Let's read it together in whatever language you're comfortable in.
台山話都 OK 嚇。咁跟住就用英文讀一次嚇。請神就照着自己的形象造人，乃是照着他的形象造男造女。神就賜福給他們，又對他們說：要生養眾多，遍滿地面，治理這地。Genesis 1:27 to 28。So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them, Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and undo it. 好，呢度講到話生養眾多，遍滿地面，治理這地。
So here the passage says, right, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it.
呢個係神嘅意思。
This is God's desire.
亦都係神嘅祝福。
And his blessing.
所以生兒育女係神所俾我哋一個嘅祝福。
So having children is a blessing from God.
人嘅學習嘅過程係非常嘅長嘅。
I guess our experience of learning is very long term.
例如長頸鹿。
Like a giraffe.
佢一生出嚟。
When they're born.
立刻就可以企起身。
Giraffes can stand on their 4 feet.
同埋可以行走。
And they can walk.
有啲動物。
There are some animals.
生出嚟幾個鐘頭。
A few hours after they're born.
自己就要去打獵謀生。
They already know how to just do the things that they need to do in life.
但係人呢
But for people.
單第一年。
Just in the first year.
7坐8爬9長牙。
You need 7 months to learn how to sit up, 8 months to crawl, 9 months to grow teeth.
相當係無助嘅。
Babies are very helpless.
咁至於讀書呢
What about learning?
小學要讀5年。
You need to get an elementary education that usually takes 5 years.
初中3年。
Middle school is about 3 years.
高中4年。
High school is 4 years.
大學又4年。
College is 4 years.
研究院2年。
Grad school is usually 2 years.
如果讀埋博士班，由5年至7年。
And then if you go for a PhD, it's anywhere from 5 to 7 years.
讀完出嚟都老啦。
You'll be old by the time you graduate.
我哋要讀成20幾年嘅書，先至叫做長大成人。
We need to study for over 20 years in order to be considered an adult.
教育乃係要幫助一個人去學習。
Education is an opportunity for us to learn,
去成長
to grow up,
去用大腦
to use our brain.
人生有2寶
There are 2 treasures in life,
2手1大腦
our pair of hands and our brain.
用手唔用腦
If we use our hands and not our brain,
食飯唔會飽
then we won't be full when we eat,
生意亦都唔會好
and any business we conduct won't be good.
我哋嘅整個嘅學習嘅過程啊，係經過一個咁長嘅時間。
The whole process of learning for humans takes a very long time.
咁但係做父母咧，
But as parents,
我哋冇一間叫做父母大學。
there's no such thing as like a parenting college.
呢個係一個好大嘅挑戰嚟嘅。
This is a big challenge.
所以我哋係一邊學一邊做，一邊做一邊學。
So we learn as we go.
我哋有邊個人去讀完父母大學先至嚟生仔嘅？
Who has gone to parenting college before having children?
如果係有咁嘅大學，我一早去讀啦。
If there was such a college, I would have already enrolled.
所以做父母係一個好大嘅挑戰。
So it's hard being a parent. There's challenges.
唔係話我哋學好啦，我哋就去做父母。
It's not a matter of us learning how to do it well and then we become parents.
所以係一邊做一邊學，一邊學一邊做。
So we learn as we go.
家庭裏邊有3個最大嘅問題。
Within families, there are 3 major problems.
造成嘅問題。
Three problems.
第一就係金錢。
The first is finances.
第二就係父母嘅教養。
The second is kind of like parenting.
第三就係姻親。
And the last one is in-laws.
夫妻之間最大嘅拗撬就係金錢方面。
The biggest issues in marriage usually revolve around finances.
大件嘅嘢，你哋要同意商量過先至可以去買。
Whenever there's a major purchase, you need to talk with your spouse before you make it.
你要有默契。
You need to have some cooperation.
咁乜嘢係大件嘢咧？
And what consists of a big purchase?
例如洗衣機。
Such as like a laundry machine.
例如乾衣機。
Like a dryer.
指甲鉗唔係大件嘢。
A nail clipper is not a major purchase.
所以500蚊以上嘅大件嘅嘢，大家要同意先可以去買。
So things that cost over $500, those are considered a major purchase that you need to discuss.
男嘅唔可以話，我中意嗰部跑車600萬啫嘛，我去買。
The husband can't say, oh, I like that race car, so I'll go buy it.
嗰個女生嗰個媽媽唔可以話，我中意嗰個鑽石戒指，我去 Canal 街買翻粒，點解唔得啊？
And the wife or the mother-in-law can't say, oh, I like that diamond ring, so I'm going to go to Canal Street to buy it.
所以大件嘢大家要商量，要同意。
So all major purchases need to be discussed and agreed upon.
咁如果你想去買杯咖啡呢？
Well, what about if you want to buy a cup of coffee?
如果你要打電話俾老婆，
If you need to call your wife
老婆啊，我想飲杯咖啡得唔得啊？
to ask your wife, can I buy a cup of coffee?
你嘅婚姻有問題㗎。
Then there's probably issues in your marriage.
但係大件嘢唔商量過去買咧，就大問題。
But there are also issues in your marriage if you don't discuss before making a major purchase.
家庭嘅裏邊，
Within a family,
第2個大問題
the second biggest problem
就係父母嘅教養。
is parenting.
夫妻來自唔同嘅原生家庭，
Both parents come from very different families of origin.
仲有唔同嘅個性。
They have different personalities.
咁當然就有唔同嘅教養兒女嘅方法。
So of course they're going to have different styles of parenting.
第三
The third
就係姻親。
is in-law relationships.
信不信由你，呢個係第3個最大嘅問題。
If you don't believe it, this is actually the third major issue in families.
我舉個例子。
I'll give an example.
點解每次個妻子同住喺中國嗰個媽媽講完電話之後，就會同老公大吵一輪呢？
Why is it that every time a wife talks to her mom who lives in China, after they hang up the phone, she gets into a major fight with her husband?
問題係咩啊？
What's the problem?
咪就係姻親咯。
That's in-law problems.
所以呢個都係呢個大問題。
So this is also an issue.
不過我哋今日思考嘅就係第2個。
But today we're focusing on the second issue, which is parenting.
父母嘅教養。
Parenting.
詩篇127篇第3節。
Psalm 127 verse 3 says,
我哋一齊嚟讀下。
let's read it together.
兒女是耶和華所賜的產業，火懷的胎是他所給的賞賜。Psalm 127:3 Sons are an heritage from the Lord, children are reward from him. 呢度提到產業。
Over here in this passage, it talks about a heritage.
既然係產業，
Because children are a heritage,
我哋就要記得我哋嘅兒女 只不過係我哋要嚟做管家。
So we need to remember that our children, because they are a heritage, we are just a steward.
兒女係屬於神嘅，
Our children belong to the Lord.
唔係你嘅。
They don't belong to us.
我哋要明白呢一點。
We need to understand this.
我哋係做管家，
We are stewards.
我哋做完管家之後，
After we finish our role as a steward,
我哋就交賬。
then we let them go.
做父母嘅要以身作則，
As parents, you need to live by example.
身教過於言教。
Life modeling through your life is more important than
What you say？
instruction. I guess, or teaching. Yeah.
呢個係更加嘅有效。
That is more impactful.
孩子們係好聰明嘅，
Children are very smart.
點解佢哋咁聰明啊？
Why are they so smart?
因為係你生啊嘛，
Because you gave birth to them.
佢哋咁聰明，
Because they're so smart.
你絕對唔可以同佢講話，嗱，你要聽我講，你唔好學我嘅做。
And because they're so smart, you can't tell them, listen to what I say, but not as I do.
你唔可以喺佢嘅面前一味吸煙。
You can't smoke in front of them.
嗱，你唔好學我嚇，唔好學我啊！
Yeah. And then tell them, oh, but don't follow me, don't follow me.
以身作則。
We live by example.
父母俾孩子有一個安全嘅環境嚟成長。
Parents need to give children a safe environment to grow up in.
箴言14章26節嗰度咁樣話：
Proverbs 14:26 says,
敬畏耶和華的大有依靠。
the fear of the Lord, in the fear of the Lord, one has strong confidence.
佢嘅兒女也有避難所。
And his children will have a refuge.
避難所即係避風港。
A refuge is a safe haven.
船隻喺海中遇着風浪嘅時候係會有危險。
Because if you are on the ocean, right, and there's a big storm, that there's a lot of danger.
但係進入避風港咧就會得安全。
But when you enter the safe haven, then you are safe from the storm.
同樣嘅一個避難所亦都係一樣。
So a refuge has the same meaning.
外邊雖然有患難，
Even though there is danger or struggles outside,
但係喺內心卻係平靜嘅，卻係安穩嘅。
but in their heart, there's a sense of safety.
所以俾兒女一個安全嘅環境，讓佢哋去成長。
So give your children a safe environment to grow up in.
父母讓孩子喺一個溫暖嘅家庭裏邊成長。
Parents can help their children by fostering a warm household.
家庭係一個溫暖嘅地方。
Home should be a warm place.
外邊勞碌工作學習，
Outside, work is busy and you're learning.
翻到嚟屋企係一個休息嘅地方。
When you come home, home is a place of rest.
所謂安居樂業。
It's a place where you can, quote unquote, live and work in peace.
意大利俗語有一句説話咁樣講：
There's an Italian proverb or saying
家庭啊，親愛嘅家庭，
that says, home, sweet home.
你雖然係小，
Even if you are small,
乃係我嘅宮殿。
but you are my
castle palace。
castle.
父母供書教學。
Parents also grant access to education.
我想呢一點我唔需要多講。
I don't think I need to belabor this
我
point.
哋都希望我哋嘅兒女會好好嘅去讀書，
We all hope that our children will apply themselves and do well in school
能夠好好地嘅完成佢哋嘅學業。
to finish their education.
不過喺呢度我稍微提一點，
But here I would like to emphasize one point.
學業係重要嘅，
Education is important,
但係要注意全人嘅成長。
but you need to also pay attention to the whole person and how they grow.
意思係乜嘢呢？
What do I mean by this?
德智體群，
Their spiritual health, their intellectual health, their physical health, and whether they can work as a team member.
一同嘅咁樣成長。
All of those aspects need to be nurtured in order for them to grow.
宗教教育
Their
Christian
Christian education.
我哋都以為啊，宗教教育係咩呢？就係將兒女送去教會，等教會去搞。
We often think Christian education is just, I bring my children to church and the church will take care of teaching them about God.
其實宗教教育係從屋企裏邊開始，
But Christian education starts in the home.
所以《申命記》11章19節，
So Deuteronomy 11:19 says,
你哋要將神嘅話語教訓兒女，
You shall teach them to your children,
無論坐在家裏，
talking of them when you are sitting in your house
行在路上，
and when you are walking by the way,
躺下起來
and when you lie down and when you rise.
都要談論。
You all need to teach your children.
意思就係乜嘢呢？
What does that mean?
喺屋企裏邊，無論係動係靜，
That means no matter if you are moving or staying still,
你都將神嘅教訓
you need to take the word of God
融化喺你嘅兒女嘅日常嘅生活嘅裏邊。
and teach it or instruct your children.
箴言22章第6節，
Proverbs 22:6
教
says,
養孩童，使他走當行嘅路，就係道路，他也不偏離。
Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it.
教養兒女
Train up a child.
係從年幼就開始，
That starts from when they are young.
指示佢哋應該選擇嘅道路，
That is teaching them the path that they should choose.
教導佢哋有一個自我嘅觀念，
Teaching them to learn how to manage themselves.
乜嘢係危險，
What is dangerous?
點樣會得到神嘅祝福，
And what type of lifestyle God will bless.
點樣保守佢哋嘅心懷意念，
How to guard their heart above all
唔
else.
好憑己意行，
And to not just live of their own accord.
凡事仰望神，
In all things to look towards God.
依靠神，
Trust in God.
咁樣到老都不會偏離。
And so in that way, when they are old in age, they will not depart from it.
預備將來，
Prepare them for the future.
未入學之前
Before entering school,
就預備佢哋入學，
prepare them for school.
去交朋友。
Teach them how to make friends.
我仲記得我哋嘅大仔
I still remember our eldest son.
3歲之前喺屋企一味同佢講廣東話，
Before 3 years old, we were speaking to him in Cantonese
當然少少英文。
and a little bit of English.
到佢臨翻去 preschool 前嘅2日，
And then 2 days before he had to start attending preschool,
我哋就發覺，如果佢要屙尿，佢識唔識講呢？
then we realized, if he needs to use the bathroom, does he even know how to say it in English?
我哋就俾佢一個好快脆嘅教導佢點樣係要講出嚟。
So we gave him a quick lesson in English to teach him how to say it.
當然好簡單啦，屁屁噗噗好簡單。
Of course, it was very simple. You just, the words pee pee, poo poo.
所以好快脆教佢，
So we taught him very quickly.
仲驚住佢唔會英文。
And we were worried that he wouldn't be able to speak English.
佢去 preschool 2個禮拜之後，
2 weeks into preschool,
佢翻嚟唔再講中文，講晒英文。
he switched and he just spoke entirely in English and he didn't speak Chinese anymore.
所以佢哋大得咁上下之後，
So when children grow to a certain age,
我哋要教佢哋點樣嘅交男女朋友。
we also need to prepare or teach them how to make a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
佢哋從小就為佢哋將來嘅配偶禱告。
Teach them to pray for their future spouse from a young age.
We also pray for them too 我哋都為佢嘅 spouse 嚟祈禱所以求神去帶領，
So may God lead us.
提早預備大學費。
Prepare the college fees in advance.
今日大學費有幾貴
How expensive is college tuition today?
公立大學一年幾多錢公立
Public universities, how much do they cost annually? Does anyone know?
25,0002萬至3萬。
20, 30,000
私
annually?
立大學咧
What about private universities?
10萬啲好嘅學校10萬啦，平均56,000。
Okay, so on average, it's about $56,000 annually for a private institution.
所以一筆好昂貴嘅一筆嘅費用。
So it's a very high cost.
當然啦，說話講返轉頭。
Of course, in reverse.
我相信一般嘅家庭冇可能你儲到幾廿萬寫支票 cash 等佢去讀書，未必得㗎係嘛？唔會嘅。
I'm sure for most families, at such a high cost, you can't just pay it all in one instance in cash.
如果你一年係賺5-6萬，
If you make $50,000 or $60,000 a year annually,
除非你餐餐都唔食啦，你先至有辦法咁供佢係嘛？
Unless you really cut costs and you eat at home all the time, then you may not be able to afford college.
所以提早嘅為佢哋預備呢方面。
So you need to prepare in advance as a
好，
result.
跟住落嚟，我哋睇一句説話好重要嘅。
Okay, so let's look at the next statement. It's very important.
先做夫妻，才做父母。
Be a couple first and then be a parent.
請注意呢句説話，
Please remember this statement.
好重要一樣嘢。
It's really important.
先做夫妻，
Be a couple first,
才做父母。
then be a parent.
我唔係話唔做父母，
I'm not telling you to not be a parent,
但係先做夫妻，
but you need to be a couple first
才做父母。
in order to be a parent.
所以上圖咧就係注重你哋要先做夫妻，
So the first diagram you'll see focuses on being a couple first.
下圖咧你先再去做父母。
Then the second diagram under that talks about then being a parent.
但好可惜嘅就係有好多人生咗仔女之後，
But unfortunately, once people become parents,
佢哋淨係做父母，唔再做夫妻。
they suddenly only become parents and they don't focus on the couple anymore.
佢哋將佢哋所有嘅心血時間都喺個兒女身上，
They spend all their time and energy on their children.
所以做父母係重要，
So being a parent is important,
但係要先做夫妻，
but you need to be a couple first.
先照顧好你自己嘅身心靈健康，
You need to take care of your own physical and mental well-being
先
first,
照顧好你嘅配偶嘅身心靈嘅健康，
and also that of your spouses,
然之後先至嚟做父母。
in order to then be a parent.
兒女成長嘅裏邊，
When children grow up,
無論係3歲、4歲、5歲，
no matter if they're 3, 4, or 5,
無論係12、13歲，
no matter if they're 12 or 13,
你哋夫妻兩個人間唔中要揾人照顧你哋嘅細蚊仔一個晚上。
it is important for couples to find a babysitter or somebody to take care of your children, even if it's just for one night.
然之後你哋兩個人去撐台腳，
And then the two of you as a couple can go out on a date,
去散步，
go for a walk,
兩個人傾下偈，
to talk one-on-one,
去個 park 嗰度再談戀愛，
to date once again,
然之後翻屋企再做父母。
and then go home and be a parent.
可惜嘅，我知道有好多人一生咗仔女之後，唔再做夫妻，只係做父母。
Unfortunately, I know a lot of couples who, after having children, they don't live life as a couple anymore. They just focus on parenting.
講一個故仔俾你聽，
I'll tell you a story.
可能有啲誇張，
It might be a little extreme,
但係呢個係一個好充滿事實嘅故仔。
but this is a story with a lot of truth in it.
有一對夫妻送佢哋最細嗰個仔定係女去大學，
There was a couple who sent their youngest son or daughter off to college.
去大學，去完大學之後，拜拜走啦。
Okay, after they sent their child off and they said bye, they left.
佢哋開車翻屋企，
And then they started going home.
坐喺我隔離呢個人係邊個嚟㗎？
And then started asking the question internally, who is this person sitting next to me?
呢個故事有啲偏激，
Even though this is a little extreme of a story,
但係呢個故事講俾我哋知道，呢對夫妻已經好耐冇做夫妻，淨係做父母。
but it gives us this example or this illustration that this couple had not lived as a couple for a very long time. They had just operated as parents.
夫妻要一致，
Couples need to be unified.
有共同嘅人生嘅目標。
They need the same life purpose or goal.
當有唔同意見嘅時候，
When they have different opinions,
你哋要入去你哋嘅房間，
it's best to go into your own room
然之後好好嘅溝通商量，
and talk things over.
千萬唔好喺兒女嘅面前大家唱反調。
But please do not fight verbally in front of your children.
夫妻要一致。
Parents need to be unified.
夫妻如果不和，
If parents are not unified,
就會將孩子們捲入去你哋嘅戰場嘅裏邊。
then what often happens is they will pull their children into their own relational conflict.
從此之後呢個家就永無安逸。
And then as a result, this household will not be a household that's safe.
夫妻親密，
If husband and wife can be close,
intimate also
or intimate,
夫妻嘅親密
husband and wife intimacy
就會俾家庭帶嚟一個和諧。
will give a sense of peace to the family.
兒女們見到爸爸媽媽嘅親密，
When children are able to see their parents intimate or close,
佢哋就會學會呢個嘅安全感。
they will learn what is safety.
佢哋亦都會學習到點樣嘅與別人親密。
And they will also learn how to have intimate relationships with other people.
可惜我哋都好少我哋都好少見到我哋嘅父母親密，係咪啊？
It's sad, but most of us probably haven't had the opportunity to see our own parents be very intimate or close to each other,
我即管
right?
問，我即管問一問，
Let me ask.
你哋幾時見過你嘅爹哋媽咪喺你哋面前？有冇
Have
啊？
any of you
有
ever
冇啊？
seen your parents kiss in front of you
有冇啊？
growing up?
冇
By
咧。
show of hands? No?
你哋要喺你哋嘅兒女面前，
You should do that in front of your kids.
你哋成家出去食飯，點解你哋夫妻唔可以拉下手啊？
When you go out to eat as a family, why can't you and your spouse hold hands?
我要問點解唔可以？
I need to ask, why can't you?
所以你哋今晚去食飯啊嚇，拖手仔啊！
So if you're eating out tonight, hold hands.
夫妻嘅親密
The closeness or the intimacy of the couple
可以帶安全感俾佢哋。
brings a sense of safety to the
夫
children.
妻白頭到老，
Husband and wife will grow old together.
點解係話先做夫妻才做父母，白頭到老咧？
Why is the saying be a couple first and then be parents and then grow in old age
兒
together?
女一進入大學，
When our children go into college,
好可能就喺外邊就會識到人，
then of course they're going to meet people,
跟住就會談戀愛，跟住就會結婚，跟住就會住喺外邊。
and then of course, right, they're going to start dating, they'll get married, and then they're going to move out and live on their own.
從此之後，你哋兩個就空巢嘅生活。
And then of course, you and your spouse will be empty nesters.
而家人嘅壽命加長，
Right now, the life expectancy
increase 啊，空巢嘅時間可以多達30年以上。
So because of life expectancy increase, the estimate is now the empty nest range of life is about 30 years.
所以先做夫妻，才做父母。
That's why it's so important to be a couple first and then be a parent.
以弗所書第6章第4節，
Ephesians chapter 6 verse 4 says,
我哋一齊嚟讀。
let's read it together.
你們作父親的，不要惹兒女的氣，只要照着主的教訓和警戒，育他們。Ephesians 6:4 Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. 不要惹兒女嘅氣。
Do not exasperate your children.
第一，
First,
不要偏愛，
do not show favoritism.
就係偏心。
Do not show favoritism.
孩子嘅眼睛係明亮嘅，
Children are very sharp.
唔好重男輕女，唔好重女輕男。
Don't love the boy more than the girl or the girl more than the boy.
總唔好偏心一個就唔錫一個。
Don't show favoritism by loving one sibling over another.
當你咁樣做嘅時候，
When you do that,
你嘅屋企裏邊就會好多嘅問題。
you will have a lot of problems at home.
嗰個被你輕嘅嗰個，佢會知道㗎。
The child that feels left out, they know.
所以我哋要好小心呢一樣嘢。
We need to be very mindful of this.
第二就係三角嘅關係。
The second is to avoid triangulation.
呢個圖係講乜嘢呢？
What does this image show?
好多嘅家庭係陷喺呢一個狀態嘅裏邊。
A lot of families, unfortunately, end up like this image.
爸爸喺外邊辛苦做工養家。
The father is hardworking, and because of his long hours, maybe he's not home very often.
媽媽喺屋企照顧住兒女。
And the wife is a stay-at-home mom, so she stays at home and takes care of the kids full term.
久而久之，呢個先生呢個丈夫咧，就以佢嘅事業為佢最大嘅興趣。
And as time passes, the father focuses his energy on his career.
呢個喺屋企嘅媽媽咧，就以佢嘅兒女 為佢最大嘅依靠。
And then what happens is the wife, right, because she's a stay-at-home mom, focuses all her energy and attention on the kids, and they become her sole, almost like purpose or reason for living.
慢慢呢個丈夫或者爸爸咧，就變成一個局外人。
And long term, right, the father or the husband becomes an outsider.
我哋有陣時唔感覺到呢樣嘢，但係呢樣嘢喺家庭裏邊係好普遍發生嘅。
Sometimes we don't recognize this, but it's very, very common in families.
我哋再睇另外一個圖，
Let's look at another image.
左邊呢一個
The one on the left.
夫妻不和，
When there is conflict between a husband and a wife,
爸爸同個細女結成一黨，
then maybe what happens is the father and the youngest daughter will be on the same team.
媽媽咧就同個大仔結成一黨。
And then the mom and the eldest son will be on the same team.
只要呢個家庭裏邊有分黨咧，
Anytime there is a splitting or people taking sides in a family,
呢個家庭裏邊再唔會有快樂嘅日子過。
there will not be any more happiness in the family.
右邊嗰個圖
On the right,
一樣，夫妻不和，
same thing when there's conflict in the marriage,
爸爸同個大仔結成一黨，
then the father and the son will take one side,
媽媽同個細女結成一黨。
and then the wife and the youngest daughter will take one side.
一旦有分黨，
Again, same thing. Once people take sides or there's a splitting,
呢個家庭再唔會有快樂嘅日子過。
there will not be happiness in the family.
我哋再睇下一個圖，
Let's look at the next image.
呢個圖係一個好嘅圖嚟㗎。
This is actually a good image.
點解咁講呢？
Why do I say that?
有一日，
One day,
爸爸媽媽兩個都唔會再喺度啦。
you as parents will not be here anymore.
跟住咧，仔女佢哋係好和諧嘅。
And then the children, the siblings, they will be at peace with one another, have a good relationship.
佢哋好好嘅一個親密嘅一個來往。
And they will have a close relationship.
佢哋每次見面嘅時候，都會談論到自己嘅爹哋媽咪以前係點樣嘅好，點樣嘅好。
And whenever they hang out or meet up, they'll talk about, oh, remember when dad and mom did this or did that?
雖然父母已經不在人間，
So even if you are not around anymore,
但係下一代嘅將呢個家庭嘅好嘅地方延伸落去，
but the next generation, your children, will continue that legacy.
佢哋能夠彼此嘅照顧。
They can take care of one another.
所以頭先嗰三個圖係唔好嘅，
So the previous 3 images were not good,
呢一個圖係好嘅。
but this one is.
我嘅老二同埋老三都係女仔，
My second and my third are both girls.
佢哋相差4年。
They are 4 years apart.
當佢哋9歲同埋5歲嗰一年，
When the older one was 9 and the younger one was 5,
有一日晏晝我接佢哋放學，
there was one afternoon I went to pick them up from school.
喺屋企翻去喺學校翻到屋企，
And I was taking them home from school.
佢哋坐喺車嘅後座，
And they were sitting in the back of the car.
佢哋有講有笑，
They were talking and laughing.
突然之間唔知點解，
And then suddenly, I don't know why,
佢兩個嘈起嚟喎。
they got into an argument.
當時我好緊張，
And then at that time, I was really anxious.
我就趕快加入，希望能夠和解。
And then I was trying my best to kind of interrupt and resolve things.
我9歲嗰個女同我講一句説話，
My 9-year-old daughter told me this
非常嘅有智慧。
with full of wisdom.
佢點樣講呢？
What'd she say?
佢話：爹哋，
Dad,
請你唔好加入我哋嘅呢個閒談呢個嘅談話嘅裏邊，
don't try to cut in and resolve things.
因為我有説話要同妹妹講清楚。
Because I have something I need to tell my younger sister.
我嗰陣時好緊張，
And I was really nervous at that
但
time.
係唔敢再講咩嘢啦。
But I didn't want to say anything.
跟住佢哋兩個傾完之後，
And then after they talked things over,
平靜落嚟啊，
things quieted down.
翻咗屋企之後，
We went home.
兩個人若無其事，好似冇發生過事一樣。
And then they were fine. They just acted like nothing had happened.
從嗰日開始，
From that day,
我學會一個功課。
I learned something.
有一啲時候，
There are some times
佢哋之間嘅問題，
when there are problems between our children.
讓佢哋自己嘅去傾，去搞掂佢。
let them handle it on their own and work things out on their own.
問題自然就會可以解決。
The conflict will resolve itself naturally.
今日佢哋兩個都長大成人啦，
And now my 2 daughters are already grown up. They're
老
adults.
二有佢自己嘅家，
My second daughter has her own family.
佢哋之間嘅感情係非常非常嘅親密。
And her relationship with her younger sister is very, very good or
大
close.
仔同老二相差7年，
My eldest son and my eldest daughter, who's the second, have an age difference of 7 years.
同老三相差11年。
And my eldest son and my third daughter have an age difference of 11 years.
但係佢哋兄妹3人
But the 3 of them
感情非常嘅好，
have a very close relationship with each
所
other.
以我同師母，我哋做父母嘅，
So me and my wife, as parents,
我哋都好放心。
we are very relieved.
有一日當我哋離開啦，
One day when we're not here anymore,
佢哋會將呢個家庭繼續嘅延伸落去。
they will carry on the family.
不要惹兒女嘅氣。
Do not exasperate your children.
第三
The third thing
就係太嚴厲同埋不理會。
is being too harsh and not being caring.
太嚴厲係點樣呢？
What does being too harsh mean?
希望兒女能夠長大成人，
Hoping that your children will become an adult,
所以好嚴厲嘅去管教。
so being very, very strict with them.
又或者自己嘅美夢並冇成真，
Or maybe because you haven't achieved your own dreams,
所以
as a
將
parent.
期望都放喺兒女嘅身上。
So you put all your hopes onto them,
希望佢哋能夠長大成人，能夠往上爬。
hoping that they'll become an adult and they'll kind of be successful.
不過請注意一樣嘢，
But please be mindful of one thing.
嚴厲還嚴厲，
Strictness begets strictness.
千萬唔可以打，
Do not hit your children.
亦都唔可以狂咁鬧。
And do not yell at them excessively.
呢啲係要注意嘅。
Please be mindful of this.
不理會，
Not caring.
可能係新移民，
Maybe because you're a new immigrant
為咗要求生，
and you need to make a living,
工作忙，
so you're busy at work.
所以冇時間去管，
So you don't have time to really take care of your kids.
所以不理會，
So you don't care for them.
長時間嘅冇放時間，
And long term, not really spending a lot of time
就
with them.
就變成係不關心。
That becomes not caring for them.
不要惹兒女嘅氣。
Do not exasperate your children.
第四，
The fourth,
硬與鬆。
being hard versus soft-handed, or what we call bad cop versus good cop.
乜嘢意思呢？
What does that mean?
多半嘅家庭裏邊都有呢種情形嘅。
Most households have this trend or this or like this.
如果你屋企裏邊兩個都係hard hand 啊，都係硬嘅咧，
If both parents are hard-handed or bad cops,
你屋企裏邊咧就係行軍。
then your household is like the military or the army,
你嘅兒女當兵。
and your children are soldiers.
如果你屋企裏面兩個都係鬆嘅咧，
But if both parents are soft or good cops,
你屋企嗰個3歲嘅細蚊仔喺屋企做皇帝。
then your 3-year-old child is the emperor.
所以如果屋企裏邊有硬有鬆係好噶。
So it's good to have the dynamic of one being hard or soft, or one being the good cop or the bad cop.
不過要注意，
But please be mindful.
大家要一致，要同意，
There needs to be an agreement between the 2 of you.
不要惹兒女嘅氣。
Do not exasperate your children.
第5
The fifth,
就係囉嗦，
nagging.
特別係孩子已經10幾歲，
When children are 20-something,
10幾歲in the teens，
in their preteens,
你千祈唔好囉嗦。
please don't nag them.
我啲女有陣時對我講話，爹哋啊，你好囉嗦 ，you are nagging。
His daughters would say that to him often.
咁我就自問，我幾時 nagging 啊？你點解係 nag 啊？我自己翻嚟諗一諗，問下我老婆，佢話你成日 nag 噶啦。
So I asked them, I was like, when do I nag? I don't nag. But then when I asked my wife, she said, you always nag.
所以我自己都要學習。
So I also need to learn this.
當佢哋10幾歲嘅時候，
When they were in their teens,
要組織一下你嘅思想，
You need to kind of collect your thoughts
然之後用幾句說話就講出重點。
and then say things very precisely and directly to them.
唔好同樣嘢講唔同嘅角度嚟講幾次，何必咧？係咪？
Don't repeat the same thing multiple times in different ways.
佢哋係聽第一次就聽咗，
They heard it the first time.
第二次、第三次、第四次嘥氣啦。
Anything more than that, it's a waste of breath.
我哋做父母嘅，
As parents,
好多時會擔心，
oftentimes we worry
驚住兒女行差踏錯，
that our children will go the wrong way.
所以變成我哋囉嗦咧，我哋自己都唔知。
So oftentimes it's us nagging without really realizing we're nagging.
所以呢個要注意嘅。
So we need to be mindful of this.
互動與空間，
The sixth is like complementary versus space or interaction versus
我
space.
解釋一下咩叫互動咧。
Let me explain what complementary means.
有一次有個媽媽嚟咁同我講，
One time there was a mother that came to speak with me.
佢話：哎呀，我周身唔得閒啊！佢話我個仔，我3歲嘅仔成日黐住我，成日黐住我。
So she said, "Oh, my 3-year-old son always follows me everywhere."
咁我就問佢：
So I asked her,
係你黐佢，一定佢黐你啊？
"Is he sticking to you, or are you sticking to him?
係你唔肯放手啊，定係佢一定黐住你啊？
Are you the one that can't let go, or are they the one that can't let go of
佢
you?"
講就講話係佢黐住佢，
She was saying that her son was sticking to her,
但係我見到佢嘅手拉住佢緊一緊，
but I saw her pulling at his arm.
係咪你唔肯放手啊？
Is it more that you can't let go?
呢個係互動嚟噶嘛？
This is what complementary means.
兒女長大之後，
When children grow up,
佢哋能夠搬得幾遠
they will move as far as they can.
？How far they can go
How far they can go
係同你好有關係噶。
will really depend on their relationship with you.
如果你一味同佢講，唔好搬得好遠啊，唔好遠啊，唔好遠啊，佢梗係聽話啦，做乜搬咁遠咧？
If you keep on telling them, don't move so far, don't move so far, of course they're going to stay closer.
我個仔讀大學嘅時候，
When my eldest son was studying in college,
佢好希望能夠同日本交換生去日本。
he really wanted to study abroad in Japan.
佢好中意日本嘅文化。
He really liked Japanese culture.
但係講到要嚟希望實現嘅時候咧，就冇呢個機會啦。
But unfortunately, his hopes didn't come true.
咁跟住佢大學畢業嘅最後嗰一個學期，
And then in the last semester of college,
佢突然之間打電話翻嚟，
he suddenly called home.
佢話日本政府有派人嚟同我哋講到一啲嘅，我哋畢業之後可以去嗰度教英文。
There was some, I guess, a program where Japan sent some people to the U.S. to talk about opportunities where you could go overseas.
Good translation。咁佢就打電話翻嚟同我講，
And then so he was on the phone and he said,
佢話爹哋啊，我而家有一個機會可以去日本喎。
and he told his dad, here's another opportunity for me to go to Japan.
我心裏邊係咪要去咁遠啊？心裏邊係咁。
Internally, I was thinking, do you really need to go that far?
但係我知道，如果我同佢講話，你唔好去，佢都係會去。
But I also knew if I told him don't go, he was going to go.
我就話好，去報名去。
So I told him, go ahead, go sign up for the program.
然之後佢就經過一輪嘅考試，
And then after a period of test taking
一輪嘅面試，
and interviews,
500人裏邊選咗200人，
they cut down the number of applicants from 500 to 200.
佢係其中一個被選上。
And he was one of the individuals selected.
5月畢業，8月中就去日本教英文。
He graduated in May, and then in August of the same year, he moved to Japan to teach English.
係喺嗰度教咗3年。
And he taught there for 3 years.
我覺得嗰3年係佢長大成熟一個好重要嘅3年。
I think those 3 years were a good period for him to grow up and become an adult.
諗一諗當時，如果我話唔好去，唔准去，佢或者都會聽話唔去。不過我放得遠，佢咪去咯。
I can imagine what would have happened if I had said no, but because I let him go and let him go, he turned out this way.
OK 所以咧係呢個係一個互動嚟嘅。
So this is what complementary means.
寡言同埋多言係一個互動嚟嘅。 speak a lot and versus speak very little。
Yeah, speaking a lot or speaking a little is also a complementary.
呢個係一種互動嚟嘅啊！如果有人多言，成日講話，
If one person talks a lot,
咁自然有人咧就會寡言
then of course one person will stay silent.
啊！有冇見過啊？
Have you seen that dynamic?
啊，有個太太一味講嘢，講，
There's a wife that talks a lot
咁佢又埋怨喎，
and complains
我呢個老公唔出聲㗎，
and complains, my husband doesn't say anything.
邊個講晒，冇人有空間講咧？
Well, who's the one that's talking so much that their husband doesn't have the space to talk?
所以呢個係一個互動嚟㗎，
So that is also a dynamic.
空間。
Space.
兒女慢慢嘅長大，
Children grow up,
特別當佢哋10幾歲嘅時候，
especially when they're in their teens.
你要俾佢哋嘅空間要越嚟越多。
You need to give them more space.
孝敬父母，使你得福，在世長壽。
Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise.
教導兒女孝敬父母。
Teach your children to honor their parents.
頭先我已經講過以身作則，
I was talking before about living by example.
我哋自己點樣對待我哋嘅父母，
How do we as parents treat our own parents?
佢哋睇得清清楚楚，
Our children see that very clearly.
將來佢哋亦都係會點樣嘅對待我哋。
And in the future, that's the example that they take to treat us.
好，跟住落嚟講界線。
Okay, next we're going to be talking about boundaries.
界線要清楚，要合理，要有彈性。
Boundaries need to be clear, reasonable, and flexible.
兒女最需要嘅就係有界線，
Children need boundaries.
即係有原則、
There need to be principles.
有主見、
There need to be opinions
有規律。
and rules.
呢個係一個界線嚟㗎。
These are all boundaries.
從小教導佢哋，你唔可以講粗口，
Teaching them from a young age, you're not allowed to curse.
嗰個 F word 唔可以講，
You can't say the F word.
你唔可以講大話。
You can't lie.
呢個係一條界線嚟㗎，
These are boundaries.
我哋要教導佢哋㗎。
We need to teach them.
男女之間嘅來往係一個界線。
Teaching them how to interact with those of the opposite sex.
晚上幾點瞓覺，
Teaching them what time they should go to bed.
處事待人，
How to treat other people.
金錢管理，
How to manage money.
時間嘅分配
How to manage time.
等等，呢啲都係原則嚟㗎，
All of these are principles.
係有界線㗎。
These are also boundaries.
界線要清楚。
Boundaries need to be clear.
你對你嘅仔女話：
If you tell your children,
你要聽話。
you need to listen to me,
乜嘢叫聽話？
what does that mean?
乜嘢叫做乖啊？
What is obedient?
你要乖啊！
You need to listen to me or you need
我
to
哋
be
就錫晒
obedient.
你啊！
And I'll love you or take care of you.
乜嘢叫乖啊？
What does obedient or what does being good mean?
你對你8歲嘅嗰個孩子咁樣話：
When you tell your 8-year-old child that,
8點鐘開始預備，
you should say, okay, at 8 o'clock you need to get ready.
8點05分刷牙洗面，
At 8:05 you need to start brushing your teeth and washing your
8點
face.
10分上床，
At 8:10 you need to get to bed.
8點15分就瞓覺，
At 8:15 you need to sleep.
咁都要聽話啦。
Then you're a good boy or a good girl.
呢個好清楚嘅。
Then that is a very clear
你
boundary.
對你14歲嘅孩子咁樣話：
You tell your 14-year-old child
星
this.
期5晚上，
On Fridays,
你去你嘅朋友屋企，
when you go to your friend's house,
晚黑9點鐘就一定要翻嚟。
you need to be back by 9 p.m.
呢個係好清楚㗎。
That's a very clear boundary.
對你17歲嘅孩子話：
To your 17-year-old,
你絕對唔可以飲酒開車，
you absolutely cannot drink and drive.
絕對唔可以。
You absolutely cannot.
呢個係一個界線嚟嘅，
That is a boundary.
好清楚嘅。
That's very clear.
仲有界線要合理，
In addition, boundaries need to be reasonable.
特別你好嬲嘅時候，
When you're really mad,
你4歲嗰個佢就係唔聽話，
but your 4-year-old child is just not listening.
你咁唔聽話，
When you yell at them and say, wow, you're not listening,
我罰你 ，you are grounded， 我罰你
you're grounded.
1個月唔可以睇 TV，
You're not allowed to watch TV for a whole month.
1個月唔睇 TV 係咪合理啊？
Do you think that's reasonable?
梗係唔係啦，
Of course not.
所以界線清楚合理，
So boundaries need to be clear and reasonable.
仲要有彈性。
And the last one is flexible.
隨着年日嘅增加，
As they get older,
俾你嘅兒女有更多嘅彈性。
your boundaries need to be more flexible with them.
8歲嘅時候可能係8點鐘上床，
At 8 years old, maybe 8 p.m. is a good bedtime.
12歲8點半上床，
But at 12 years old, maybe 8:30 is better.
14歲9點上床，
At 14, 9:30 is probably better.
16歲10點鐘上床，
At 16 years old, probably 10 o'clock.
有少少嘅彈性。
You have some flexibility.
好，我哋嚟睇下一個圖。
Okay, let's look at the next image.
呢個圖咧係講乜嘢咧？
What does this image talk about?
嗱，首先我要聲明一樣嘢，
First thing I want to emphasize,
呢一個圖咧係西方嘅觀念，
this is a Western mindset. So I just want to emphasize that.
唔係中國人嘅觀念。
This is not, Chinese or Eastern mindset.
從1歲到8歲咧，你要做父母。
So when your children are from the ages of 1 to 8, you are their parent.
8歲到12歲你要做父母，又有陣時做朋友。
But from the ages of 8 to 12, you have to be a parent and a friend to them.
12歲到18歲你係同佢哋做朋友，但係仍然做父母。
And then from the ages of 12 to 18, you become their friend, but you still have to be their parent.
18歲到60歲同佢做朋友。
And then after the age of 18, you become just their friend.
嗱，呢個係西方嘅觀念嚇，
This
講
is
明
the
啊。
Western mindset or view.
中方嘅觀念係點樣咧？
What's
東
the
方係點樣咧？
Chinese or the Eastern view?
1到60係父母。
From the ages of 1 to 60, you are always their parent.
不過既然我哋而家生活喺西方嘅國家，咁就講西方嘅嘢啦嚇。
But of course, since we are in a Western country, let's talk about the Western mindset.
當佢3歲嘅時候，
When your child is 3 years old,
你一定要做父母，
you absolutely need to be their
你唔
parent.
可以同佢做朋友。
You cannot be their friend.
3歲做咩朋友啊？
What kind of friend are you at 3
你要
years
做
old?
你要做父母，
You have to be a parent.
你帶佢去食 ice cream，
You bring them to go get ice cream.
你絕對唔可以問佢
You cannot ask them,
你想食 vanilla 啦，定係 chocolate 啦，定係 strawberry 啦？點解要問？我要問，點解要問？
you cannot ask them, what kind of ice cream flavor do you want? Do you want strawberry, vanilla, or chocolate?
如
Why
果
do you
佢
need to ask?
係如果佢係中意 vanilla，
If you know that they like vanilla,
咁你咪買 vanilla 咪好咯？仲要問佢 chocolate，仲 strawberry 做乜鬼咧？
if you know that they like vanilla, why bother asking about the other flavors? Just get them vanilla.
1歲到8歲你要做父母，
So from the ages of 1 to 8, you need to be their parent.
你唔可以同佢做朋友。
You cannot be their friend.
好啦，8歲到12歲啦，
Okay, from 8 to 12,
你開始同佢做下朋友，
you begin to be their friend
因為佢哋開始成長啦嘛，
because they're getting older.
俾佢有多少少嘅空間，
Give them a little bit more space.
可以同你能夠有啲交接，有啲 negotiation power。
And give them a little bit of negotiation power.
12歲到18歲，
And then from 12 to 18,
你要俾佢哋同你有 reasoning， 同你講一啲佢嘅諗法係咩嘢。
you need to give them the space to negotiate and share their reasons for
雖
things.
然係做朋友，
Even though you are their friend,
但係你仍然要做父母。
but you also need to be their parent.
好啦，到60歲啦，
Okay, and then at 60,
唔係佢60歲，係你60歲啊！
and I'm not talking about them being 60, I'm talking about you being 60.
禮拜6朝頭早帶你去飲茶。
Hopefully they'll take you out on Saturdays to yum cha.
That's right. Hopefully 嚇，佢帶你去飲茶，然之後咧，你又坐低，你又食嗰個蝦餃鹹到死。
And then you'll sit down and you'll eat ha gao, and it'll be way too salty.
你就喺度話啦，哎呀，今日嘅蝦餃鹹到死。
And then you'll complain, oh, the ha gao is way too salty today.
你 complain 太多，下次就唔嚟揾你。
And then they'll think, oh, you're complaining too much. I won't date you or invite you next time.
所以60歲嘅時候，佢係主人。
So at when you are the age of 60, they are the master, I guess.
佢帶你去邊度，你就去邊度。
Wherever they want to bring you, you follow.
食乜嘢都話係好食。
And then whatever you eat, you have to say, it tastes good.
咁你下次先至有機會再食蝦餃。
And then that way you have the opportunity to eat more ha gao.
所以呢個圖要注意啊。
So please remember this image.
好，跟住珍惜機會。
And then next is to treasure the opportunities.
時間過得好快，
Time passes really fast.
兒女長大得好快，
Children grow up really fast.
珍惜同佢哋喺埋一齊嘅時間同埋機會。
Treasure the time and the opportunities that you have with them.
我仔16歲嗰年，
When my son was 16,
禮拜六朝頭早，
on Saturday mornings,
佢就問：
he asked me,
今日係咪同兩個妹妹去打千秋啊？
He asked me, do I have to go to play at the slides with my sisters today?
如果係嘅話，我唔去啊。
If I have to, I don't want to go.
中間嗰個女
And then the middle daughter,
11歲，
at 11 years old,
禮拜六朝頭早就問：
on Saturday morning, she asked
今日
me,
晏晝係咪同妹妹去打千秋啊？
do I have to go to the park to play on the swings with my younger sister today?
如果係嘅話，我唔去。
If I have to, I don't want to go.
最細嗰個
And then the youngest,
9歲，
when she was 9 years old,
禮拜六朝頭早，
on a Saturday morning,
今日晏晝係咪同我去打千秋啊？
she asked me, this afternoon, are you going to go with me to play on the swings?
我可以唔去啊？
Can I not go?
16歲變到11歲變到9歲，
I guess the age tolerance of 16 to 11 to 9.
你
It
唔好
was
以
drastic.
你唔好以為佢哋一路跟住你噶。
Don't think that they'll follow you forever.
所以要珍惜嗰個時間。
So treasure that time with them.
今日佢哋都長大成人啦，
They're already adults now.
想同佢哋去食餐飯啊，早一個月要預約噶。
If I need to have a meal with them, I need to pre-advance arrange by a month.
Make a reservation。
Make a reservation for a month. Yeah.
我個仔5、6歲嗰年，
When my son was 5 or 6 years old,
大概1989年
in 1989,
嗰陣時，生活非常嘅忙碌。
I was really busy then.
白日我喺銀行嗰度上班，
During the daytime, I worked at a bank.
放工之後趕去 Nyack 去宣讀神學院上課。
And then after work, I would rush to the Rockland campus of Nyack to study seminary.
晚上10點半鐘先返到屋企，
And then I would get home at 10:30 p.m.
又肚餓又攰。
And I'd be tired and hungry.
個仔嗰陣時5、6歲，等咗我成日返嚟同佢玩。
And at that time, my 5 or 6-year-old son had waited for me for the whole day to come home and play with him.
我當時推開佢，
And I would push him aside.
我話：爹哋好攰又好肚餓，
And I would say, Daddy's really tired and really hungry.
聽日同你玩。
I'll play with you tomorrow.
我聽日一定同你玩。
I'll play with you tomorrow.
今日我每次想到呢件事，
And now every time I look back at that,
我都有一啲嘅難過。
I'm sad.
點解當日要推開佢？
Why did I push him aside?
如果時間能夠倒流，
If I could turn back time,
我巴不得佢今日可以對我話：爹哋同我玩。
I would love it if he told me, Daddy, play with me.
我一定珍惜嗰個機會。
I would treasure that opportunity.
弟兄姊妹啊，
Brothers and sisters,
珍惜呢個時間。
treasure that time.
每次我喺街上嘅時候，
Every time I'm on the street,
見到有母親推住一啲1歲2歲嘅 baby，
when I see
細蚊仔，
mothers pushing their maybe 1 or 2-year-old child in a stroller,
我都會對佢話：
I will tell the mother,
珍惜呢個時間，
treasure that time.
一起食飯。
Eating together.
英文有句説話咁樣講
There's a saying in English,
：Family eats together, stays together。一起食飯係一個增加感情一個大好嘅機會。
eating together builds a lot of
relationship 啊，
relationship.
其實呢一點我同我師母都冇做好。
On this point, or in this area, I and my wife have not done our best.
多年嘅牧會，
Pastoring for so many years.
我太太工作亦都繁忙，
My wife was also very busy with her own work.
呢一點我哋冇做好。
We did not do our best
但
at
係
this point.
下一點，
But on the next point,
家庭旅行，
going on family vacation.
我哋每年總有10日到2個禮拜，
Every year we had at least 10 days or 2 weeks.
通常喺聖誕節之後新年嘅期間，
And usually around the time of like Christmas and New Year's.
我哋全家一家5口
And our whole family of 5
開車去佛羅里達，
would drive down to Florida
然之後咧就去和路迪士尼。
to go to Disney World.
呢個係我哋家庭嘅傳統。
That was our family tradition.
我個仔今年38歲，
My son is 38 this year.
你哋估下佢去咗幾多次 Disney？
Do you guess how many times he's gone to Disney World?
多少次？ 35 OK， 仲有冇其他？37，仲有冇其他
Any other guesses?
？28，仲有冇其他？42次。
42 times.
因為我哋幾乎每年都去。
Because almost every year we went.
然之後佢自己大學畢業之後又去咗好多次。
And then, of course, after he graduated from college, he also went on his
結婚
own.
之後又同佢老婆去。
And after he got married, he went with his wife.
包括日本嗰個 Disney、歐洲個 Disney、香港個 Disney。
And then that includes the Paris Disneyland, the California one, and the Hong Kong one.
呢個係我哋梅家嘅 legacy。
That's the legacy of the Moy family.
Disney World。
Disney World.
如果我仔冇工做，
If my son was unemployed,
隨時可以去 Disney 做個導遊。
he could totally become a Disney travel agent or travel guide.
Disney 裏邊邊度有廁所，邊度有好嘅，佢都知。
He would know where all the good places in Disney World are.
與成人嘅兒女
With your adult children,
要多講心事。
you need to have deeper conversations.
呢個係互相嘅，係雙方嘅，係雙行線嚟㗎。
This is a give and a take. It goes both ways.
你要同你嘅成年人嘅兒女多講心事。
You need to have deeper conversations with your adult children.
對成人嘅兒女
Towards your adult children,
要有適當嘅要求。
you also need to make appropriate requests.
當你有病嘅時候，
When you're sick
你需要揾人帶你去睇醫生嘅時候，
and you need somebody to bring you to see the
你
doctor,
千萬唔可以咁樣諗。
you cannot think like this.
佢哋忙，佢哋忙。
Oh, they're so busy.
佢哋要揾食。
They're working to make a living.
唔好麻煩佢哋。
Don't bother them.
適當嘅對你成人嘅兒女嘅要求係應該嘅。
It's appropriate to make a request to your adult children to ask them for help.
係一件好事嚟㗎。
That's a good thing.
頭先講過唔好偏心。
Earlier, I talked about not showing favoritism.
不過如果你有多一個兒女嘅話，
But if you have more than one child,
當你年老嘅時候，
when you are in your older age,
你必須要靠近一個，其中一個。
you're going to need to pick one to be closer to.
如果佢哋住得都好近，
If they all live close to you,
呢個係神俾你嘅祝福。
that's the blessing of God.
一個電話個個翻嚟，哇！呢個祝福嚟㗎。
You can just make one call and all of them come home immediately. That's great.
但係如果佢哋分散各地，
But if they're all in different
你
places,
必須要靠近一個。
you need to pick one to be closer
頭
to.
先我哋講過唔好偏心，
We were just talking earlier about not showing favoritism,
不過講心嗰一句，
but I'm talking about the heart.
你知道你會中意靠近邊個？
You know maybe which of your children you would rather be closer to.
要靠近一個。
So draw closer to one of them if you have
你哋
multiple.
住屋嘅問題咧，
When it comes to housing issues,
最好咧就係住同一間屋，
then the best scenario would be to live in the same house,
不過係姊妹屋。
but it's a two-family house.
所以咧唔同嘅門口入，
So it has a completely different entrance,
大家有空間，
and everybody has their own space.
呢個係最好嘅。
That's the best
如果咪
scenario.
住得好近，
If not, then have them live close.
不過記得一句説話：
But remember this.
相敬好，同住難。Live together is hard, but when you say hello, it's good. 不過要注意一樣嘢，
But pay attention to one thing.
你嘅喜樂你嘅快樂唔可以建造喺你嘅兒女嘅身上。
Your children should not be the only thing that your happiness depends on.
你自己必須要去尋找你自己嘅節目，
You also need to have your own life.
過你嘅生活。
And yeah, live your own life.
我而家退休啦，
I've already retired,
我好中意水㗎。
and I like water.
有陣時揾唔到人同我一齊去啊，唔能夠揾到一齊有人同我去 Hurricane Harbour。
And sometimes it's hard to have somebody go with me to Hurricane Harbor.
我自己去，
Then I'll go by myself.
戇居居自己去。
Then I'll just go by myself.
你要自己揾你嘅生活。
Find your own life.
過你嘅自己有情趣嘅生活。
Live your own exciting life.
如果兒女多返嚟係好㗎，
If your children come home and visit you, that's great.
否則你必須要揾你自己嘅情趣嘅生活。
If not, then you need to find your own hobbies and live your own life.
以下嘅呢一點
The next point,
先講明，
I want to make clear.
生兒育女係一件好事嚟㗎，
Being a parent is a good thing.
有好多好嘅地方。
There are a lot of positives.
不過有陣時美夢係冇成真，
But there are also times when our dreams shatter.
亦都會有㗎。
That's a possibility.
我舉啲例子，
I'll give an example.
兒女冇上進，
When your children maybe don't do as well in life,
生活成咗問題，
and they have, there's just challenges in life.
又或者同你嘅感情唔係咁好，
Or for whatever reason, you just don't have a good relationship with them.
大家嘅信仰唔一樣，
You don't have the same beliefs or religion.
政治嘅觀念唔一樣，
You have differences in political affiliation.
又或者兒女嘅婚姻並唔係咁美滿，
Or if your children's marriage doesn't work out well.
美夢並冇成真。
Sometimes our dreams shatter.
請記得一樣嘢，
Please remember this.
基督教嘅信仰
Christianity
係一個再俾機會嘅宗教，
is a faith or religion that is about second chances
重新建立關係。
to rebuild a relationship.
做祖父母，
To be a parent,
你係祖父母，
you are a parent.
你you are a grandparents，
Oh, you are a grandparent.
你要決定一樣嘢，
You need to decide one thing.
到底你係全時間幫忙湊孫呢，
Do you help out to take care of your grandchildren full time
定係部分時間湊孫呢？
or part time?
定係間唔中傳道傳一傳你就到呢？
Or just sometimes, like when it's your turn?
做下傳道人呢？
Will you be a minister?
你要自己知道喎。
You need to know what your role is with your grandchildren.
我媽媽同埋我姨媽，
My mother and my mother
and my aunt.
and my aunt,
佢哋非常嘅偉大，
they're very giving or generous.
佢哋幫忙湊大我哋三個細路。
They both help to take care of our 3 children.
我同我師母而家有2個孫，
And my wife and I now have 2 grandchildren.
一個大孫係3歲多，
The eldest is about 3,
一個細嗰個孫係4個月大，
and the youngest is about 4 months old.
大嗰個孫住喺我哋嘅附近，
The eldest grandchild, the 3-year-old one, lives nearby
我
us.
哋每個禮拜去幫忙湊兩日。
And every week we help 2 days out of the week.
呢個係一個天衣無縫嘅一個 arrangement。
This is a ideal arrangement.
去湊2日，湊完懟翻俾佢走人。
It's good because we can take care of our grandchildren for 2 days, and then when we're done, pass them back.
玩完就俾翻佢。
When we're done playing with them, give them back.
不過要注意一樣嘢，
But need to pay attention to one thing.
誰有主權
Who has the power or the authority?
？Who's in charge？
Who's in charge?
舉個例子，
For example,
如果兒女同埋佢嘅配偶上班，
if my son and his wife are working,
白日幫忙照顧孫兒女，
and I am helping out during the daytime to take care of my
佢哋
grandchildren
上咗班，
because they're at work,
你湊住孫兒女，
and we're taking care of the grandchildren,
你有主權。
we are in charge.
一旦佢哋放工翻嚟，
But once they come back from work,
主權交翻俾佢。
they are in charge.
呢個時候你唔可以再有乜嘢嘅主權。
And at this moment, you no longer have the power.
嗰晚翻到嚟之後，
So at night, when they come back,
你要留喺度食飯。
you can stay for dinner,
佢哋就一味要嘅孫兒女要食魚，
and they are maybe telling the grandchild, oh, you need to have fish, you need to have fish.
嗰個孫就話我唔要。
And the grandchild saying, I don't want it, I don't want it.
然之後呢個時候你係祖父母，你就入嚟話佢係唔食魚咪唔食魚咯，點解要咁啊？你咪俾佢食雞咯。
And then as a grandparent, if you jump in and you say, well, they don't want to have fish, why don't you give them chicken instead?
主權 並冇交翻俾佢。
then you have not given power back to the parents.
呢個點要注意嘅。
So please pay attention to this.
點樣教養孫兒女？
How can you teach your grandchildren?
你同你嘅兒女要有默契。
You and your children will need to have good
talk。
talk.
單親嘅家庭。
Now talking about single-parent families.
因為離婚造成單親嘅家庭。
Single-parent families that are a result of a divorce.
離婚畢竟係一件傷痛嘅事。
Divorce is a very painful thing.
每一個人結婚嘅時候，都希望能夠與對方白頭到老。
Everyone desires when they get married to stay married until very old age.
總係希望呢個係一個美滿嘅婚姻。
Of course, they hope for a happy marriage.
特別如果曾經對你唔係咁好嘅嗰個配偶，更加嘅痛苦。
And it's more painful if the ex-spouse didn't treat you well.
一個人死咗。
If one spouse dies.
如果一個人死咗。
If one dies.
埋咗喺墳墓嘅裏邊。
And they're buried.
呢個係一個終結。
That's a closure.
但係離婚呢？
But when it comes to divorce.
係冇墳墓㗎。
There's no closure or grave.
如果前夫前妻。
If the ex-husband or ex-wife.
佢仲生勾勾。
Are still alive.
仲移情別戀。
And they're leftover feelings.
They love other person.
They love other.
They have another family.
And they have another family.
更加難過。
That's even harder.
所以離婚係冇墳墓㗎。
So there's no closure with divorce.
不過唔好睇離婚係一個失敗。
But don't look at divorce as a failure.
將佢睇成係一個學習嘅功課。
Look at it as an opportunity to learn something.
我喺呢一段嘅婚姻嘅裏邊，我學到乜嘢功課呢？
What have I learned through this marriage?
我嘅貢獻係乜嘢呢？
What
is my contribution?
What is my contribution?
我貢獻係乜嘢呢？我要負乜嘢嘅責任呢？
What is my responsibility?
如果你一直認為係對方唔好，
If you keep on thinking that the other person is bad,
係對方嘅錯，
it was their fault.
對方係負心人，
They're the bad person or the
自己係冇責任，
and I have no responsibility.
咁你永遠都好難走出呢個痛苦嘅圈子。
Then it's really hard to find healing.
呢段嘅婚姻離婚啦。
This marriage ends in divorce.
我都有責任。
But I still have a responsibility.
我學習到乜嘢功課呢？
What have I learned from it?
如果認為自己嘅離婚係造成兒女嘅傷害，
If your divorce has caused pain to your children,
以致兒女冇父愛，
and the result is that your children don't have maybe the father's love,
又或者係冇呢個母愛，
or the mother's love,
你唔需要咁樣諗，
you don't need to think like that.
係一個學習嘅課程。
It's an opportunity to learn.
兒女自然會成長嘅，
Children will still grow up naturally.
唔需要太過責備你自己。
There's no need to blame yourself excessively.
我哋睇下一章，
Let's look at the next.
詩篇68篇第5節，
Psalm 68 verse 5.
請
Let's read it together.
神在他的聖所作孤兒的父，作寡婦的伸冤者。68:5 A father to the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in his holy dwelling. 所以天上嘅父親一定會看顧。
So our Heavenly Father will definitely watch
你
over us.
嘅兒女係會自然係會成長嘅。
Your children will still grow up
單
naturally.
親嘅家庭
In single-parent families,
要有一個適當嘅界線。
you need to have very clear boundaries.
我舉一個例子，
I'll give an example.
千萬唔好喺兒女嘅面前講你嘅前夫又或者前妻嘅壞話，
Please do not speak badly about your ex-spouse in front of your children.
講佢哋嘅唔好嘅嘢。
to talk badly about them.
呢一條界線係要好分明嘅。
This needs to be a very clear boundary.
再舉一個例子，
I'll give you another example.
一般嚟講，
In general,
如果母親有收養權，
if the mother has the right, like custody,
當前夫嚟接孩子去有佢父子或者父女嘅時間嘅時候，
when the father comes to visit to just exercise his rights as a father,
佢嚟到門口嘅時候就接兒女去，唔可以入屋。
generally speaking, if that is the case, then when the father comes to pick up the child, he can only stand at the entrance of the house. He's not allowed to go into the house.
絕對唔可以好似以前咁樣翻入嚟，仲煮餐飯俾佢食，食完先走。
And then please don't try to, like when the husband is at the door, cook a meal for your child and then have your child eat it before they can go out and meet their
呢個
father.
呢一條界線嚟㗎，
That's also a boundary.
要好清楚嘅。
It needs to be very clear.
單親嘅家庭
In single-parent
因
households,
為失去配偶
because there is a loss of a spouse,
而造成單親嘅家庭，
that results in a single-parent family.
生離死別係相同㗎。
Life and death is tough.
人係一個感情嘅動物，
We are emotional beings.
配偶嘅去世
When our spouse passes away,
會造成一個好嚴重嘅孤單感。
that will create a lot of loneliness.
一般嚟講，
In general,
男嘅係會先走，
most of the time it's the husband that will leave first,
母親單獨嘅帶着孩子，
and then the mother will be widowed and will have to take care of the children on their own.
孤單感係好奇怪嘅。
Loneliness is a really interesting feeling.
一個人喺人群嘅當中，仍然可以感覺到孤單。
We can feel lonely even if we're in a crowd.
感覺到孤單嘅人，唔一定係離開咗人群。
So loneliness isn't something that is felt necessarily in isolation. We can feel it in a group.
當然喺更深人靜嘅時候，會倍加孤單。
But of course, in situations like this, loneliness is also natural.
所以失去配偶嘅，
So if you lose your spouse,
要好好嘅去面對，
you need to learn to face it
重新嘅尋求你人生嘅樂趣。
and seek your life's, I guess, life's
Your only happiness.
your own happiness.
呢一方面可以再講好多，不過我相信今日嘅時間唔係咁許可再講太多啦。
I can speak more on this topic, but due to time constraints, I won't say too much.
所以今日好簡單嘅就講到呢啲嘅重點，
So today, very simply, I just wanted to talk about these main points.
希望我哋能夠彼此嘅學習。
I hope that we all have an opportunity to learn.
好，跟住有問題解答嘅時間。
Now we have a time for Q&A.
誒，最好用一用，因為大家等我聽到。
去基督教讀中學啊，或者高中係咪必須嘅？係咪真係一件好事咧？
所以去呢個係咪宗教嘅基督教學校去讀書係咪一個好事？
Is it good to have your children attend like a Christian or maybe a Catholic school?
如果你問我，我係牧師，
If you ask me, I'm a pastor.
咁當然我話係件好事，
Of course, I'm going to say it's good.
但係亦都要基於你嘅需求係咩嘢。
But it really depends on what you need.
如果係去到讀呢個嘅基督教嘅私立嘅高中嘅學校，當然你自己要另外要呢個交費。
Of course, if you are planning on enrolling your child in a Christian school, it's likely private, so you need to pay tuition.
如果你嗰個你住嘅校區唔係咁理想，
If you're not in maybe the best school district area because of where you live,
咁當然送去呢個嘅基督教學校係一件好事。
then of course I think it's a good idea to send your child to a Christian school.
但係唔好諗住以為送去基督教嘅學校咧，就會教導一啲比較正確嘅倫理嘅觀念。
But please don't think that sending your child to a Christian school will give them correct theology.
所以喺呢個嘅普通嘅學校嘅裏邊，我哋只要家庭裏邊有好嘅提醒，同埋教會裏邊有好嘅教導，都係可以嘅。
So even if you send your children to a regular public school, as long as there is Christian education in the home and good teaching in the church, then that is also good.
所以大前提，我話係好事。
So overall, I think it's a good thing.
不過都要睇你個人嘅家庭嘅需要而決定。
But it's also dependent on your family's needs and your view.
問個問題頭先牧師話夫妻先做夫妻再做父母咁嘅，我都覺得好有道理。咁我唔知會唔會太遲咧？咁我唔知有冇做到啦。咁啊，即係假如我懷疑自己冇做好咁啦，但係我女都已經下一年即係3個星期之後要返大學啦。咁仲有冇機會？雖然頭先講話神係我哋基督教係呢個咩話有重新悔過嘅機會。咁我個問題就係、即係假如我哋做得唔夠嘅話，有冇機會嘅咧？即係有冇得補救
？So the question or the statement was, thank you, Pastor Moy, for sharing about first being a couple and then being a parent. But I recognize maybe in this area I haven't done as good of a job, and my child is about to go to college in 3 weeks. So in the case where I maybe haven't done that, or then what's the suggestion?
當然，你嘅女跟住要上大學啦。
Of course, your daughter needs to go to college.
你能夠喺佢身邊，能夠好正面影響嘅機會，已經係會減少。
And so the opportunity to be able to influence her is already pretty low as a result. 但係唔代表你就已經冇機會。 But that doesn't mean you don't have an opportunity.
因為始終你仲係佢嘅父親啊嘛。
But because you're still her father.
如果喺以後嘅年日嘅裏邊，佢係能夠有事情翻嚟請教你，咁咪係仲係有機會咯。
If there are issues in the future where she comes to you and seeks your advice, that's an opportunity.
喺呢個時候咧，佢就嚟要去大學咧。
At this moment, she needs to go to college.
我屋企有一個咁嘅傳統。
In my family, we have this tradition.
就係每一個去大學之前
Before each of our children went to college,
我哋都有一個 family meeting.
We had a family meeting.
然之後咧，就大家講一講呢個心裏邊一啲嘅説話。
And so everybody was given the opportunity to share what's on their heart.
然之後咧，利用呢個機會咧，亦都講一兩句我哋做父母嘅一啲嘅勸勉嘅説話。
And then we also use this opportunity as parents to share our own encouragement with them.
然之後大家有一個祈禱嘅時間。
And then we had prayer together as a family.
所以好可能呢個係一個機會嚟啦。
So this might be an opportunity for you.
當然，如果佢仲喺你嘅屋檐之下
，of course, if she's still
under your roof，咁當然你有更多嘅機會。
Then you have more opportunities.
但係唔代表佢去大學你就冇機會。
But that also doesn't mean when she's in college that you won't have an opportunity.
所以仍然係可以嘅。
So you still can
仍然可以把握一啲嘅機會
take that opportunity.
阿門牧師想問一樣嘢，你話頭先你話你細路仔唔可以嚴厲咁樣管教或者係責備佢，咁到佢唔聽話嗰陣時，你仲笑笑地同佢傾偈，咁更加冇咗一種叫做講佢聽教育嘅問題咯。咁你話慢慢講佢聽啊，唔好好伶俐啊，唔好好惡咁啊，咁嘅態度啊咁樣。哇！如果佢細路仔係唔會怕父母嘅，好似我個女咁樣細個12、13歲，佢一唔中意咧，佢就會攞隻眼掘住你望住你嘅。咁你話你唔勵住佢，你唔同佢嚴厲，咁你點教佢？點講佢咧？我想問下你，我想請教。
So the question was, Pastor Moy had shared earlier about not being too harsh or too strict when it comes to parenting children. But what happens if your children really don't listen to you or they're very disobedient? And then the brother asked about his daughter. He gave an example. She's 12 or 13 years old, and when she doesn't like something, she like rolls her eyes or she'll give a facial expression. So isn't there a concern that if you're not strict, then they won't listen to you?
OK， 請注意一樣嘢。
Please pay attention to one thing.
我係講唔好太過嚴厲。
Don't be overly strict.
我並冇講話唔好嚴厲。
I did not say don't be strict.
呢個第一。
That's the first point.
第二
Second,
我哋要養成你對細蚊仔講過第一句嘅説話，就係好重要嘅。
The first thing that you say to your children is really important.
如果佢覺得你講嘅説話係唔重要嘅
If they don't think that the first thing you said was important,
，somehow 你已經失去咗你做父母嘅權威。
then you've somehow already lost your power or authority as a parent.
我就唔明白點解佢可以瞪住隻眼望住你。
So I don't know why or how she can like roll her eyes or give you a facial
如果
expression.
佢可以瞪住隻眼望住你，你已經某程度你已經失去咗你做父母嘅權威。
If your child can roll their eyes at you, you've somehow also already lost your authority as a parent.
如果你嘅兒女有一啲嘅行為係唔應該嘅，係唔應該嘅。
If your children have some behaviors that are unbecoming,
你要先講好呢一樣嘢。
you first need to talk about that.
我哋 counseling 裏邊有兩個字，
In counseling, we have two words:
一個字就係 process，
process,
即係過程啊。一個字就係 content， 就係嗰個內容。內容有陣時係唔緊要嘅，唔重要嘅。
Sometimes the content is not important,
process 係重要嘅。
but the process is.
你同你嘅兒女嘅溝通嘅嗰個嘅技巧係重要嘅。
The communication dynamic is really important.
Yeah， 佢幾點要返屋企？呢個係 content。
What time your child needs to come home? That's content.
但係佢點樣同你講幾點返嚟？呢個係 process。
When your child tells you what time they come home, that's content. But the way that they deliver it, that is process.
如果 process 嘅運作嘅裏邊係好健康嘅，
If the way of communicating is healthy,
呢個 content 就冇問題嘅。
then there's no issues with the content.
所以如果下一次佢就瞪住眼咁望住你咧，
So the next time she maybe rolls her eyes at you,
你先對付呢樣嘢。
address that first.
呢樣嘢好重要㗎。
That's really important.
點可以咁冇禮貌啊？
How can she be so rude?
我都唔會瞪住個眼望住你，點解瞪住我望住我啊？
I don't look at you like that. Why do you look at me like
所
that?
以有陣時要先對付呢個 process，
So we first need to address the process
然之後
first.
content 就會冇問題㗎。
And then there wouldn't be any issues with the content.
我聽你咁樣講咧，
When I listen to you,
我覺得就係如果佢唔聽即係唔聽你話，
I'm thinking if she doesn't listen to the first thing you say,
一係咧你就要重新調整點樣同佢講。
one thing might be that you need to rethink how you bring it up to her.
你教佢咁樣，你一定要有理由。
Then you need to explain to her the reasons why you're saying what you're saying.
你唔能夠係冇理由，你又教佢咁樣講咁樣做。
Obviously, it's not without a reason that you're telling her to do something.
但係如果真係大到個地步，你只可以就係講咗就算啦，就真係交俾神啦。如果真係咁樣嘅話，
But maybe it will hit a point where you just need to leave it to God. You've done your part.
我 sorry， 仲有一樣嘢想問你。細路仔去要求去同啲同學仔去玩，我哋做父母要唔要俾幾多時間去玩，或者係要限定嘅幾多時間要翻嚟？要唔要呢個 problem 要講清楚俾佢聽
？So the question was, if children asked to spend time with their friends, how much time is acceptable to allow them to hang out with their friends? Should we allow it?
能夠同朋友仔去玩係一件好事嚟㗎。
It's good that your children want to hang out with their friends.
但係如果佢一去不回，幾日之後先翻嚟就唔得㗎。
But if they disappear for a couple of days and come back, then that's a problem.
要睇年齡而定。
You really need to look at what age they are.
如果係8歲嘅話，
If they're 8 years old
佢去隔離鄰舍嗰度玩1個鐘頭 OK。
and they go to the next door neighbor's house to play with the kids for an hour, that's
如果
fine.
係14歲嘅話，
If they're 14,
大家父母同意去隔離嗰個 neighbor 嘅嗰個同學仔嗰度過一晚夜 ，is OK。
and if there's an agreement among parents that there's a sleepover, then that's fine.
咁當然，如果你嗰個係個女，
And of course, if it's your daughter
對方係個仔，
and the other person is a son,
咁當然又要小心啲咯。
then of course you need to be more careful.
咁至於如果佢哋係17、18歲，
And then if they're 17 or 18,
佢哋係有人 chaperone， 即係有人照顧嘅情況之下，
and they're under the care of somebody,
佢哋去一個嘅晚上、2個晚上係 OK 㗎。
then it's okay for them to be maybe away for a day or two.
所以要注意年齡方面嘅分配，
It really depends on their age.
同埋你嘅太太嘅決定係咩嘢。
And you and your wife's decision.
但係一般嚟講，我覺得去同朋友周玩係一件好事嚟嘅。
But in general, I think it's good if kids want to hang out with their friends.
但係至於幾長咧，時間幾長咧，嗰個就要你哋要有適當嘅決定。
But in terms of like how long is appropriate, you need to determine that.
我想再問一句，佢哋如果你叫我哋要父母要俾錢或者俾信用卡去，我哋要唔要正面點同佢講咧？而家我個女要求攞啲錢出去出邊 shopping， 佢都有咁嘅要求噶啦，已經。但係我哋幾多限額有幾多？
佢幾歲？佢幾歲 ？How old？ 佢幾歲
？13歲啦，而家。
Okay.
So the question was, what about if just another detail to add to that is if children ask for money to spend or they're asking for the credit card, how much money is appropriate and what type of boundaries should be set in terms of
我覺得13歲咧就唔好俾個 credit card 佢。
I don't think it's appropriate to give a credit card to a 13-year-old.
如果佢嗰日同個朋友去 shopping，
If she is going shopping with her friend that day,
大概佢係用25蚊。
maybe she's spending about $20.
你認為25蚊係 OK 嘅？
Maybe you think spending $25 is okay.
咁你咪俾25蚊佢咯。
Then give her $25.
我覺得13歲俾個 credit card 就太早啦。
I think it's too early to give a credit card to a 13-year-old.
如果佢嘅眼睛盯住你，你都係冇俾。
And if she rolls her eyes at you, well, oh well.
但係如果佢入大學，
But if she goes to college,
你俾佢有張 credit card，
and you decide to give her a credit card,
嗰個 credit card 有 limit，
the credit card should have a limit.
你講清楚係點樣用法。
And you speak very clearly about when it's appropriate to use.
我覺得呢件係好事嚟嘅。
I think that's a good thing.
你總唔能夠俾2000蚊現金佢帶住喺身上係咪？
You can't give her $2,000 in cash to carry around all the time.
Again 要睇年紀嘅需要。
So it depends on age.
OK，
多謝 ，thank you。
3點43分，係問就快啲問咯。
I have a question about worrying. Since your poster says, what to worry about your child, rearing your child. I worry about if I have to narrow an objective of parenting. I want to make him a Christian, and I want to see that he could be retained as a Christian through college or through his life. Now I look at this, I could quote two statistics that I could remember. First thing is from the Barnett Group. They said that 70% of youth entering college who declare that they have, say, Christianity, religious belief, No, it's just that 70% of them will leave during college. That makes me very worried, actually. And then the other statistics is, if I bring my kid through his teenage life and everything until if he goes to college, okay, and he's a hardlining youth going to church and participate in everything. Okay, still only 10% of this kind of hardliner Christian kids will remain as Christians. From all this Alliance of Churches statistics. So if I believe in these numbers, I'm becoming very worried. I personally have no confidence that I could help retaining him through his life as Christians. I want to see how you look at this. I don't think this is a responsibility of the church. But, I know maybe you can say something about it and what are the resources you can go to.
OK， 個問題就係我對於呢樣嘢係好擔心，因為知道喺呢個嘅統計有好多青少年，當我哋入大學之後，佢哋一般嚟講只係有70%，佢哋仍然係可能係會去教會，但係亦都not going OK，70% 係唔再去教會，然之後咧亦都係佢哋 declare， 即係佢哋嘅信仰係能夠跟隨神嘅係好低。咁我對於呢樣嘢係好擔憂一樣嘢。我覺得呢一個問題咧係一個好嚴肅嘅一個問題。
I think this is a serious question.
呢個問題咧，亦都係一個我哋似乎冇咩把握嘅一個回答嘅一個問題。
And there was also no clear answer, I guess.
我哋無可否認，我哋嘅細蚊仔細個，我哋帶佢哋去教會。
We have no assurance that if we bring our children to church from a young
佢哋
age,
甚至洗咗禮，
and if they get baptized
信咗耶穌，
and have believed in Christ,
但係亦都有好多去到大學之後，佢哋就流失咗。
that they will stay in the faith. There's a chance that they will lose their faith when they go to college.
其實呢一樣嘢，即係如果你講話真係要睇下點樣嘅改善呢一個嘅局勢局面。
If you're talking about how to prevent or to change this trend or trajectory,
老實講，教會同埋家庭嘅宗教教育都要改善。
then in reality, both the teaching in home and at the church needs change.
喺教會呢一層。
From the level of the church,
唔係淨係中宣聯會嘅教會。
We're not just talking about OCMA churches.
一般嚟講嘅全球嘅教會。
In general, all churches.
能夠吸引青少年好嘅喺教會裏邊成長嘅呢個嘅數字已經越嚟越低。
Already, there are not a lot of churches in the world that do a good job in terms of attracting youth.
咁我哋見過有好多青少年嘅兒女，我哋自己嘅兒女。佢哋亦都流失咗。
We have also seen a lot of youth. In my experience, I've also seen a lot of youth leave the church.
我覺得我哋冇錯，我哋係要擔憂。
Absolutely, I think it's something to worry about.
但係我哋擔憂之餘，我哋要放在禱告嘅裏邊。
But at the same time, as when we worry, we should also put it in prayer.
如果佢哋已經係信過耶穌。
If they have already believed in Christ,
未去大學之前，就如果能夠鋪到路，佢哋去大學之後有教會有團契去係最好嘅。
If they have believed in Christ, it's best that we prepare them before college by helping them look for a church community, get them connected.
我仔未去大學之前
Before my son went to college,
佢自己就已經上網揾好喺大學嘅附近嘅教會。
He already did some research about all the churches nearby his college.
所以我哋同佢去送佢去大學嘅時候，就嗰1、2個禮拜就已經同佢去教會見過面，知道佢想去邊間教會。
So already 2 weeks prior, we had kind of set things up in a way where he went to visit all those churches and he kind of knew
咁呢個係一個好嘅結果啦。
So this is a good result.
我嘅中間嗰個女，我即係第二嗰個中間嗰個女。
My middle daughter.
佢曾經信主。
She previously believed in God.
佢亦都受咗洗禮。
She was baptized.
但係今日佢係唔係好多時去教會。
But right now she doesn't go to church frequently.
咁我呢個係一個擔心嚟㗎。
This is something that I worry about.
但係我仍然放喺禱告嘅裏邊，
But I still pray about it.
亦都求神有一日就將佢能夠帶翻嚟。
And I pray that God would bring her back to himself.
我亦都喺我嘅同佢嘅談話嘅裏邊，一有機會嘅時候，我都會再提醒佢。
And even in my conversations with her, I will encourage her, remind her of God.
所以我覺得冇錯，呢個係擔心嘅一件事。
So absolutely, I agree with you. It's something to worry about.
但係我哋要好正面嘅嚟面對呢樣嘢。
But we need to face it head on.
但係歸根究底，我要講一樣嘢。
But at the root of everything, we need to talk about.
如果到最後你嘅仔女同你嘅信仰係有出入嘅，
At the end of the day, if you and your child have a very different belief or faith,
我覺得呢樣嘢真係就交俾神。
I think you need to entrust this to God.
唔好睇成呢個係我嘅失敗。
Don't think of it as my failure.
呢個始終都係佢同神之間嘅關係。
At the end of the day, this is your child's personal relationship with God.
所以我哋做父母嘅我哋係緊張，我明白。
Of course, as parents, we're anxious, we're worried for our children.
但係我哋繼續嘅用我哋有影響嘅機會去影響佢哋，去傳授佢俾佢哋。
We do what's in our power to influence them, but leave the rest to God.
係求神憐憫嘅呢樣嘢。
May God have mercy.
我想請問聲呢個細路仔，好似而家呢12、13歲嗰啲年齡，我哋做父母嘅，應唔應該俾佢揸住嗰啲錢或者係有幾多錢俾佢揸住先為之正確？即係好似我個女佢習慣咗每個月咧有180蚊左右嗰個零用錢，即係我俾佢儲錢嘅。但係咧，我哋咁嘅年紀，我驚佢而家出邊咧，就係同啲同學仔咧有相處咧，我哋要唔要將我啲錢放喺銀行，或者係俾佢自己 keep 住咁樣好唔好啊？點樣？
So the question was how much, I guess, spending money is appropriate for a 13-year-old child. And this brother shared that right now his daughter maybe gets about $180 a month in terms of spending money. And sometimes she saves it up for herself, or maybe she spends it on friends. So how much is appropriate, and should we be encouraging our children to save up money in the bank? What's the role, or what's the...
我覺得180蚊咧，多又唔多，少又唔少。
I think 180 is like a middle number. It's not a lot. It's not a little.
我可唔可以認你做契爺啊？
啱我隔離嗰個就係我個女嚟㗎，所以佢行開咗我先問阿梅牧師你，因為佢而家咧都你好似做父母嘅，我而家擔心佢咧就係識使錢啦，而家開始。係。咁佢又去 shopping 咯喎，咁我話嗱，唔好買咁多嘢，唔好用咁多錢啊，即係自己 keep 住。爸爸俾錢你，唔係俾你去用嘅，係俾你自己去 keep 住，自己去將來啲學費或者係書簿費，爸爸可能到時冇能力咧，你可以自己用。我咁樣同佢講好，由細到大都咁樣講，佢係4歲開始已經俾錢去 pocket money 啦。
Okay, so he was sharing that his daughter was sitting next to him before, but since she left, it's easier to ask the question. So starting from 4 years old, he was already giving her pocket money, but his heart was so that she could just save it. It wasn't necessarily to spend it all the time, but it seems like that's what she's doing with the money.
如果你覺得180蚊裏邊應該有一啲錢係要放喺 savings 嘅，
If you think out of the $180 you're giving to her, some of it needs to go into savings.
你就要幫佢開個 savings account， 然之後就將一部分嘅錢就入咗去先。
Then it would be good to open up a savings account and put a portion of that money in
你
there
絕對
first.
唔可以俾咗180蚊俾佢之後，你仲話有啲錢係攞嚟 savings 嘅。
Yeah, you should not give her the full 180 and then tell her that some of it's for savings.
老實講，就算一個月 saving 100蚊，
To tell you the truth, even if you're saving $100 of the 180 each month,
就算係儲足18年，
and you save it for 18 years,
將來都係唔夠用嘅。
it's not going to be enough for the future.
唔夠大學費嘅費用嘅。
It's not enough for college tuition.
所以我認為咧，你同你嘅太太商量好，要點樣俾就點樣俾，同埋點樣要先放開就先放開， 唔係俾咗佢之後先同佢講，有一部分係要你 savings 嘅。
My encouragement is that you would speak with your wife first about how much you would want to set aside for savings, and just do that up front, and then give her whatever money left over.
Yeah.
但係而家俾咗佢啦，而家係你叫佢攞翻出嚟就難啦，而家根本唔俾翻你，冇得攞啊。
Yeah. 咁你從而家開始咧係冇 adjustment 嘅，唔可以加嘅。
冇如果夠聽你咁講法，我唔會再俾啦。
Yeah.
因為費事一陣間佢唔識用咧，就亂咁瞓咗佢啊。
Yeah.
我幫佢 keep 住好過。
Yeah. So he's made the decision to maybe save the money for her.
Okay, last one.
Okay, specific. 我一個女仔18歲，咁佢表哥係19歲，係我個妹個仔嚟嘅。咁我哋兩家人都好好關係嘅。咁近期咧就佢表哥就即係約佢去一齊出去做運動，即係做運動咁嘅。咁我個問題就係，即係我太太咧就覺得兩個人出去咧，可能即係總之有啲擔心咁嘅，即係可能係一個男一個女咁話。咁我都有少少，但我又冇佢咁擔心咁嘅。應該點樣？我初即係佢媽媽就覺得應該多過兩個人出去咁嘅。咁初就我陪佢去咗1-2次，咁但係我又覺得好似暫時就我都 OK 放心咁嘅，但係我都有呢個 question 考慮，咁應該點諗呢個問題？我信咧係。
Okay, so the scenario is that he has a daughter that's 18 years old, and her older cousin is 19, male. And they kind of like made an arrangement where the older 19-year-old cousin male asked his 18-year-old daughter to go out to kind of do like some exercise together. But there's some concern from his wife and himself about whether it's appropriate, because it's one male, one female, they're cousins, but yeah, the appropriateness of it.
Okay. 你個女已經18歲。
Your daughter's already 18.
已經係成人。
She's already an adult.
同埋應該可以講好深入嘅話題。
So she should already be capable of having a deep conversation with.
如果你同你嘅太太，特別你嘅太太真係對呢方面係有避忌嘅心嘅時候。
So if both you and your wife, especially your wife, have some reservations,
我覺得唔需要兜彎。
I don't think you need to beat around the bush.
你哋就好好地嘅同你嘅女坐低，好好地嘅講出你哋嘅擔心嘅嘢係乜嘢？
I think it would be good to just sit down with her and have a direct talk.
好好地嘅就講，有話就講。
Just say what's on your mind.
但係唔係 put her down 咁樣講。
But not in a way to put her down.
唔係唔信任佢咁樣講。
And not in a way that implies that you don't trust her.
你讓佢知道佢係成人。
You remind her that you know that she's an adult.
你讓佢知道佢有權做決定、做選擇。
And you remind her that she has the choice, she has the freedom to make whatever decision she wants.
但係有一啲嘢咧，如果係能夠避免咧，就避免。
But maybe there are some situations or things that you can avoid.
你哋絕對可以提議，可唔可以多1-2個人同你哋一齊去？
You are absolutely allowed to maybe suggest, is there 1 or 2 other people that can go with you too?
但係似乎一個深入嘅一個顧慮係乜嘢呢？
But it seems like there might be a deeper concern.
因為佢哋係表兄妹。
Because they are cousins.
如果過咗界
If they cross the line.
咁點呢？
Then what will happen?
所以呢啲嘢係，我覺得18歲係可以有話就講。
I think at the age of 18, you're allowed to have that conversation with her.
但係你要諗嘅就係你講完之後嘅後果係點樣？
But just think about what happens as a result of that conversation.
如果講完之後嘅後果係你講嗰樣，佢就特登要做嗰樣，咁你就要注意下點樣講。
If you maybe know her personality and you know that after that having that conversation, she's just going to rebel and do the opposite. 但係我覺得，如果你哋真係有咁嘅疑問、懷疑，又或者係顧慮，應該講，好好嘅講。18歲可以講。I do think that if you do have that reservation, I think it's important to have that conversation with her because she is 18. 好，我哋祈禱。Let's pray. 親愛天父，感謝你嘅恩典。親愛天父，我哋感謝你嘅恩典。Father God, we thank you for your grace. 因為你嘅話語係幾咁嘅寶貴。 because your word is very precious.
我哋呢個2個鐘能夠彼此嘅學習，
We were able to learn in these past 2 hours,
都係你所俾我哋嘅恩典。
and that's a grace that you've given to us.
我知道做父母係唔容易，
Lord, we know that being a parent is not easy,
甚至係一個挑戰。
and it is a challenge.
但係如果你將兒女俾我哋成為我哋嘅產業，
But if you have given children to us to become our inheritance,
咁就讓我哋好好嘅嚟做好忠心嘅管家。
then help us to be a good steward.
希望我哋教養我哋嘅兒女，
We hope that we can teach our children
就讓佢哋走當行嘅路，
to teach them in the way that they can go,
信靠你到老都不偏離。
to trust in you and to never depart from you.
今日裏邊有好多嘅重點，
There were a lot of points today,
但願神你就讓我哋懂得，我哋要先做夫妻，才做父母。
but Lord, would you help us to remember that we must first be a couple and then be a parent?
我哋遵照主嘅話語嚟教導我哋嘅兒女。
Help us to follow your words and to be a good parent.
我哋深深嘅相信，
We firmly believe
我哋嘅下一代至我哋嘅下一代至我哋下一代都係蒙恩嘅。
we know that the next generation, the next generation, the next generation after us will be blessed.
就好似聖經咁樣話，
As your word says,
我哋義人跟隨你嘅義人，
when a righteous person follows a righteous person,
我哋嘅千千萬萬代都係蒙福嘅。
then the generations after will be blessed.
我哋感謝你，
We thank you.
我哋咁樣仰望祈求，
And we put all our hope in our prayers.
係奉我主耶穌基督嘅名，
Pray this in Jesus' name.
阿門。
Amen.